Okay, yes, all right.
We can do whatever we
First,
want.
yeah, I said, first is to accept the minutes from the June 5th meeting.
I move we accept the minutes.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Alrighty. All right, the next order of business is project status. And hoping Paul would be here to review what they found when Vortex did their thing. So maybe he'll come in, hopefully,
I am
and let
so,
us know.
because that was part of the email thread the other day.
Yes, it was, yeah. Didn't say that he wasn't gonna be able to be here. As far as CMP goes, we have made the request to Justin to get the what's it called? Long time,
A service.
yes, yeah, but it's you have to.
Ask for a new account.
New account,
and all
that's
of that.
it.
Yes.
So sorry. That hasn't come back yet. after
Yeah,
all of
you
that.
mind?
No. To start the new service and potentially get a field planner or move forward to getting a field planner to establish the service and get that underway. One of the questions that I had, I think you and I talked about it, Andrew, is what the plan is it easily expanded? Should, for example, we want to do more than a caterer's kitchen in the future? How difficult is it, if it's difficult at all, to make sure that it's set up so it can be fairly easily upgraded? And we're gonna have,
From what I heard from Matt Lyle, with Mega Engineering, he says that right now the panel system is sized for everything that's in our scope. And he says that even could be downgraded to a 200 amp, based on what was in the kitchen. So he's already anticipating basically a warming kitchen. It's not a cooking kitchen per se, which could be done 200 amp service. But I believe we're at 400 and that's what he's sized for now. So anything that could go up into that 400, we should be okay with.
we should be okay with.
How's an elevator factor?
That's a good question. I didn't ask him that.
Elevator?
I mean, being for down in the
Down
cellar.
the
or what?
road, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Just, yeah, as an option to have.
Just to know what the implication is.
Yeah, I'm not looking for us to spend more money but what is it? Is it possible? So in the future, if we did want to do something, I know they'd be working under in the basement. Most everything's very accessible.
Yeah.
And would we be doing anything electric? Would it be primarily gas for a stove? But I know would be a hood involved, and I don't know kind of load that, it's those kind of questions that I thought we should probably at least ask to see what the opportunities would be.
And along those same lines, not that it's really any big draw, but having a plan for audio visual
Right.
in the main hall, because if the firemen expressed interest in being able to use it for meetings, and of course we,
Training and.
if we offered it to the public to use for meetings, making sure that we had and came up with a plan for audio visual, easy plug in your computer and have a screen that comes down or whatever, or a television, or I would rather not have a TV in that room just because of the historic nature of it, but if there was a screen that, the retractable screens that came down and there was a projector that you just,
Right.
plug in your USB from your computer to play your PowerPoint. or
And even
whatever.
for like weddings and stuff, if somebody, a lot of times they do play,
Yes,
they have videos.
videos, or if somebody used it for Lori's celebration of life.
Yes, because I've already said
Yeah.
I'm reserving that for when I die. I'm not ill, but when I die, I'm already having my service there.
Exactly.
I do plan ahead.
And, showing the videos and pictures that they always do at, services.
It makes me think, I've worked on a number of auditoriums from high schools to
Yes.
Merrill Auditorium.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering what you should be prepared for, what your expectation is in terms of directing light to what might be the
Oh, for
focal
lighting and
point.
whatnot, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I can only imagine that room, you know, maybe somebody might want to have a wedding inside. But if they used it for a reception or whatever, but I don't, you know, in my head, I would
Doesn't
rather
have to
keep
be
it.
sophisticated.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want it like, you know, what they just went through down
Lasers
there.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. Tungston Hall with a whole new LED lighting system.
Yeah,
but
no,
those are
because we have
production.
Dunstan Hall,
Exactly,
to
for
do
that type of
a
thing.
dramatic.
Okay.
But if it
thing
was just a
compared to-
simple you know,
wonder,
concert or a choral event
I
or
wonder if there's
something.
something really discreet that could just be planned for.
We could do a recessed, or a projector screen at least,
Yeah.
because that came up, we could do like a recessed thing in the
Yes.
ceiling
Yeah.
that could just drop down. As far
Yeah.
as electric services for audio visual, that wouldn't be.
Be a big
concern.
load.
Not a
Yeah,
big-
the only
yeah.
way we worry about breaching a 400 amp would be a very sophisticated mechanical system
Yes.
or things that
Right.
draw a lot of
Yeah.
of power, like water
Yeah.
dryers, stuff like that. So I don't think that additional couple circuits, we would just have to have the electrical engineer map out a route so that you can have a plug-in near the stage area to set up a laptop for projecting or whatever
Right,
it may be. So we can
yeah,
ask them to do that.
that's of interest, I think.
I think it's an important thing because I think a lot of the people that I anticipate may be coming to us to use that would be for meetings, for receptions, for
yeah.
things that, or, you know, when you have like a class and you've invited maybe other universities to come and present to the senior class, that they might want to do a presentation on their university or something. So I think that we really need to have that in one of the forefronts of,
Yeah,
we need to have that.
yeah, and like having the alumni gathering over
Right.
there, you know,
Right.
what I'm gonna do for this alumni gathering is show a PowerPoint with the stages that we've gone through so far. So just being able to have that ability, I think, is important,
Oh,
because we really hadn't ever talked to that point of it yet. Not that we're there yet, but I mean,
No, I think,
obviously,
you know,
we need to think
Yeah,
about it.
my
so-
concern is just that we just, in the future, if, you know, I would presume I think it's gonna get a lot of use.
Yeah, oh, I do
And
too.
be found to be
Yeah,
quite an asset and, you know, to help it grow in the future. There's only so much we can do right at the moment, but
Oh,
help
yeah.
it to grow in the future. We don't want to be dismantling things or you
Yeah.
know, replacing a whole service panel.
yeah,
Well, I think there
because it
are,
needs to-
you know, a few basic amenities that will make it a draw or appealing.
Mhm.
In a screen, I think is one of the basic things.
Yeah. Mhm.
I kind of think a warming kitchen is all we're ever gonna need. I can't
I
imagine.
don't, I
a
think so.
gas stove. I mean, I can't imagine gas in that.
Ever, I would rather, you know, not, just because, but, you know.
So that little piece of
Just
wall,
have
big enough for that.
That's what I was.
The only reason
That's
that
what I'm
came up
thinking,
is
that
because looking
In the
through
event that there's
our original
presentation or
thought,
something, it's almost like
should
we would
there be
have
a
to set up
disaster,
staging on
Oh,
this
yeah,
one, we just don't make sense that door because we
being
can't
able
block
to
these egress,
accommodate
there's not enough
people.
room there. So we're trying to use
Yeah,
those existing openings.
Right.
you know, it could be helpful, but
So what you're saying,
only
you do need a bigger
in so
screen
much
for that
as-
size.
Yeah.
However, the
That's
Telemelody
like a 60 or
is supposed to be
something,
the
yeah.
emergency place to go, is my understanding.
Yes, that's how they got their part of their grant.
Right, and they have a complete kitchen, so if we had a warming kitchen and
Yes.
the
things could come
food
up
was
in there. Yes.
was prepared there,
Or
it could
whatever
be brought up, you know,
Yeah.
they could,
Yeah.
if we could bring it
And in
up.
that line, do we need 3 toilet stalls? Should we
That's
have
probably
2 toilets, toilet,
Use it
you know,
anyway,
2 toilet
right.
stalls and a shower stall? I don't know. I'm just throwing that.
I like that idea if we could get a grant,
Yeah.
and, you know, at one time, Steve, we were told we could possibly get a grant as keeping that as an emergency warming center for people.
FEMA has those kind of things sometimes.
Yeah.
You have to look, see what's out there.
Yeah, so I'm just, you know, I was thinking of the drawings and they have the 3 stalls here, and I know we have to have 1 handicap.
Yeah,
But would there be able to be, I don't know, a shower stall?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Which is one of the things that the Helen Melody Hall does not have.
Right.
I don't know how you're thinking of the program area, but what about that janitor's closet?
Generous plus could potentially, yeah, we need.
Oh,
those
John.
picture.
Yeah.
We've got it.
You do, okay,
Yeah.
So-
all right.
okay.
But if we, I mean, the janitor's closet used to have the ladder
Hold
down to go up, but that I believe moved over into.
Yeah.
Kitchen, the office.
Yeah,
So we
Yeah.
wouldn't need as much clearance space in there. We could make a little stall.
Yeah, it wouldn't have to be very big.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a little awkward away from the toilets, but
but.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. I mean, if it was over there and there was just a shower stall in that,
big enough you
It's
can
a-
dress in there.
exactly, and that's why, it wouldn't take up a bathroom stall. Somebody could be in there if they needed, and if,
Right.
we're looking for grants and that's one of the
Yeah, and that
things.
might be important, because we don't know what the town is gonna do for additional money, so. It may be a grant may help us get to the end of the project.
Yeah.
That's just one of those things that as I was looking, because I already home now, and so I'm trying to find room and I'm going through Boston.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, and I'm flipping through there, and that was one of the questions that
Yeah.
I had originally. So,
Yeah.
all right. And all set with, Justin did say that he's on that,
Yes.
would CC us when whatever is going on.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did get a note back from him. All right, on to the bell tower. Now, Steve's not here.
Looking at me.
I am. Here
I
he
was
is, the gaze, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so,
gone.
yeah, it's gone. I
The bell is
attempted,
at my house, so it's.
I attempted to come up. I've got a very reliable car that's 13 years old and
Right.
it chose to
I
die. Well,
know.
almost died. So I need to schedule a time with you and Paul to come up and do the assessment.
Yeah, I sent an email to Steve as well.
Yeah.
So I could do that this week if he's
Yeah.
available.
I haven't gotten a response from him yet.
Okay,
And Steve,
I mean,
Bergen, I think the super on site.
okay. I'll be out of town Friday. It's Tuesday. I won't be able to do tomorrow. I've got a doctor's appointment first thing in the morning, but I could leave at 9 and be here at 10.
I could do tomorrow. In the morning, yeah. Yeah, let me check with.
Got a doctor at 8. That'll be
Tomorrow's Tuesday.
Do you have Darren's phone number? Who is the guy doing all the work?
Site super.
Oh, he's the super, okay, so
Yeah.
Steve's his boss. then.
Steve's his
his
boss.
boss.
I have Darren's
He's
phone
in
number if you need it,
Right.
so. His phone number is 447-2026. Really nice guy.
Very, I think you spent.
Just been wonderful. Yeah.
All right, so and you'll follow up with us on that?
Yeah.
Okay, while you're, I'm gonna skip over the roof for a minute. While you're there, I think Jeremy Buzzard sent up kind of a mini mock-up,
Okay,
just, you've got some water struck brick. But what he did was he mixed up the mortar that came out of the spec.
Those specs.
oh, perfect. So I haven't seen the spec. I was just gonna issue our standard preservation spec for old brick.
Yeah,
I can send
I
that.
mean, typically, yeah, I'd like to
So
see it.
crazy.
yeah.
I mean, I would say
Just-
it's whatever,
Yeah.
you might not know what it means, but
Well,
we always spec a 129.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and of course, it doesn't say that. It talks about
But you
white
can-
line
White
and
line.
Portland cement.
White lime is, yeah, Portland cement is 1, white lime is 2, and then aggregate is 9.
Yeah,
So I think when you look at the
I'll send
spec
you
that
that.
was original, it will
It'll
be
be close, I
interesting.
hope it's close to what.
And
we
Yeah.
and so hopefully it will be, yeah,
what a find that was.
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
So funny.
And so he just for shits and giggles, part of the
Yeah.
expression, but that's what he did. He just
Very
picked up.
British.
He picked up some water struck. He didn't want to use any of the brick here
Okay.
because they're valuable
Oh,
for
okay.
doing, any patching and whatnot, but it will give you an idea what the color of the mortar is.
Okay, and also it'd be valuable if the spec said the size of the aggregate.
Right. I'm not sure that it does.
that.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
not,
they can look and
right,
use their eyes.
right, yeah. So, the only thing that's not right on the little sample that he did and dropped off is, after looking at the building, the joiner is a V joiner. They has a V joint. And
Uh-huh.
so he did regular barrel joiner on that. So he will
I forget, it's fairly flush, isn't
Yeah,
it?
well, I think it's
There's
more like,
skinny
I think
joints.
it's, yes, I think it's more like a weather joint,
Yeah,
which is.
that's the best
dipped in.
joint.
Yeah, exactly, kind of gives a drip edge, so,
Yeah,
but he's picked up that, and if you want it redone, he can do that, but what he's trying to do is follow the, dimensions of the original jointing, so. That's okay,
yeah, as long as they can tool within that skinny joint.
right, yeah,
That's great.
and I
You
think.
don't want to blow
I
up out.
think this end is different than. So
With the piece of-
looking, so it's not as dramatic, I don't think, as the front part of the building.
Okay, that wouldn't surprise me.
Right, yeah, so my eye on that. Roof, I haven't heard anything. I know that they're waiting. Conversations are, they're waiting for information on the bell tower and getting the soffits done and working on the masonry and stuff, from what I understand.
Okay. Well, we'll need, I guess we can ask for pricing for different dome cladding. As far as restoration of the wood, there aren't really many options.
Understand,
It's
yeah,
gotta be
yeah.
epoxy and paint
Right, yeah.
and
Yeah.
some Dutchman repair. Do you have a sense of what the species was? It's just pine, right? Old growth pine.
So, yeah.
Clean, sharp sand screened. That's what it says. So, and
Dark
then,
is what you want.
yeah,
You don't want round.
yeah. 4 shovelfuls of lime putty to each bag of cement to retard the setting of the mortar.
Uh-huh.
The cement and sand shall be mixed until the cement is so thoroughly distributed that no particles of sand can be detected, and then only enough water added to bring it to a plastic condition after being thoroughly worked and the lime putty added. Cement and sand shall not be mixed more than an hour before the water is added, and
Wow.
water remaining unused at the time initial not occurs shall not be used in the work. So
Make it 350 for
Yeah.
an hour and
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Yeah. all
It's
lines
aggressive.
shall be
Yes.
thoroughly slacked and run into a bin and allow to become cold before it is mixed with the cement and sand.
You know, it's kind of upsetting because our modern preservation specs aren't as good as that. It's all lawyerly and
This is-
that tells you exactly what to do.
Exactly. It's so funny. And, when we went downstairs into the basement, I never could figure out why all those holes were down there until I saw these blueprints. And there were 3 girls' toilets and 2 boys'
Oh, wow.
toilets, because when they put the addition on, they put the bathrooms inside. Because up until then, I'm sure they were just using an outhouse.
Yeah.
So
Story.
I couldn't figure it out when we went inside there, but now I know.
Maybe it was just the hole. Maybe there wasn't a
Well,
toilet.
they showed
Like
the
an
toilets in the blueprints.
Just
Oh, we want you to be
hole.
that guy, right?
Cool.
Yeah, and there's conversation, I've been out of the loop on the dome cladding, what the conversations are about that.
Well, there are options and I don't know. That was. The belfry was built during that spec? No, it was before.
It was before, that was original to the building.
Okay. Well, I don't know if there's any evidence, when I worked on Portland Observatory, we uncovered evidence that it was canvas that was coated with a linseed oil coating. So that's an option, but I don't know what would have been there.
I think it was all that tin, so,
I mean, you could do copper.
Yeah, we put copper in the spec.
Oh, it'll look great, but it'll be expensive.
yeah,
And there, I moved into town just about the time the high school was done. And I remember the discussions about the beautiful copper dome that turned green. and how, which of course it's supposed to.
It's crazy.
But I
what they
remember
went through
that
to
whole
build that
conversation
wooden
and the
frame
last
underneath it, but I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's all the original.
So,
I don't think it's ever been changed because there was 1,000,001 nails in there.
mm,
I don't think that that's ever been changed. He took off this section to determine how bad it was.
It could be, I'm of a different opinion. I don't know. That, I don't know. I would expect better craftsmanship from the original. But I don't have a good,
Yeah, it's
strong opinion.
Now, John, the steeplejack was gonna do the steeple for the United Church of Monmouth. He recommended something, I can't remember what it was, I can look it up.
Okay,
But it's a coating of some sort. I don't know if it's epoxy fiberglass, something like that is what he's gonna use on the steeple. And I mean, he does church steeples all over Northeast.
I'd be interested to, it doesn't ring a bell, and typically preservationists are swayed against more modern.
Well, yeah, but we're not, I mean, we're,
we want it to last for,
Right.
be a good price. and last.
Part of why I say that is because the older approaches are tried and true. We know this method will last
That's
50 years or
right,
whatever.
Correct,
If there's something new that's only been on the market for 10 years,
right, you don't know.
you don't
Mhm.
You
really
don't know
know.
the history. This is
it's true.
for sure.
And I think the condition of that wooden frame underneath there was so poor that,
They're just gonna rebuild.
yeah, it's
Gonna have
gotta
to.
be rebuilt completely.
Yeah, and then they'll just take it and.
Put it back up there and.
Yeah, well, the last similar project I worked on that had this decision was Alumni Hall at UNE's Westbrook campus. And they just threw their arms up and said, let's spend the money and put a copper
Mhm.
cladding on.
What was original?
We don't know.
I don't believe it was ever copper from anything that I recall. What about you? I mean, have you ever seen, of course, the pictures were black and white, but
Well, yeah. Copper ultimately turns a pretty dark brown.
Yeah.
So if it was a really dark dome, it might have been copper.
I mean, we've got some pictures from the late 1800s that were on the fronts of Amaracus, the yearbook.
Uh-huh.
And
It's bright.
it wasn't dark. I think it's always been that color. I'd have to drag those out, but they might also be in that book that I gave,
Yeah, look,
Yeah.
Paul's got it.
oh.
I just did a quick look. I could have spent.
How tall, I mean,
Somebody's
it's
name,
simple
you know,
words.
Paul, that book on the Academy that had all those different pictures and years and everything in there that,
I don't remember it ever being a dark brown.
no, I don't either.
Okay.
I remember it being bright in color. I think it always was that silvery.
I think
Okay.
so. Don't you think?
And somebody had spray painted the bell as well. The bell's been spray painted silver badly.
It's supposed
My
to be
time
oiled
mom
and
used to-
waxed.
I know, so,
It's over.
and there's plenty of pigeon poo on it right now,
Ew.
so.
Don't wipe your eyes. if you touch
No,
pigeon
actually,
poo.
pigeon poop is typically toxic. There's parasite.
Yes, it can cause blindness because
Yes.
Kara's husband
It's
went
not a
blind.
joke. Yeah.
Because he worked in restoration and they were working in
That's
replacing
something that
windows.
preservation
Yes.
architects have to learn.
And
Raccoon poop and pigeon poop.
Yeah.
Cryptococcidiosis is what it is. The
Wow.
raccoon has
Wow.
a round.
yes, it's not just poo.
So, okay, he knows I'm not shit. Sorry.
Right. So I'll make sure I tell my mother not to lick the bell since it's in the basement of her.
Or
mother.
even the dust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but we moved that. That was quite a day when we moved that. So it was a privilege and an
I'll
honor.
make a point of going over to Paul's office, Andrew's office, and look through there to see if it tells me anything.
Yeah.
On that
And
day that John wasn't able to make it up here, was Eric Duby here? Were either
I
of you on
think
the
he
site?
was-
I was-
I talked with him.
Okay,
Yeah.
And I called him when I broke down.
I'm wondering if he would have an opinion on if the base of it needs to be reframed, if he wants to design that or draw it up, or if that's just like, hey, it has to withstand the amount of load and that's.
I can't remember what he said.
He may have.
I think there was
They are
conversations
aware of
about
it.
that when they took the bell off. And Steve Brown might be able to.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember if it was good or
Because
bad.
they had, well, what they needed to do is recreate it
Mhm.
so
Okay,
that,
it's
so
pretty
it
bad.
wasn't a tapered. Because it was originally, I believe, somewhat tapered.
Oh, I thought it
so-
penetrated the roof.
Well, I think the base of it was so that water coming off the bell
Uh,
would drain, if I'm not mistaken.
Makes
But-
sense.
But to do what we have to do, I believe they created basically a level platform that they're gonna create a roof on. And then reconstruct the structure for the bell
mhm.
and to be able to just hoist it
Okay,
back up and set up there. So you can talk with
So-
Darren or
Yeah.
Steve Brown on that.
yeah, I'm sure Eric, since he was here. he's
Yeah,
probably
So I
aware of
think
that.
they were all
Steve and
they were all part of that discussion, as I recall.
Great.
Okay. All right. Just reminders about the topics that we had discussed, early on in the process is the handrail and we're always, trying to keep an eye on what we might have for monies for phase two. We Probably don't have anything to discuss about that today, but I just like to kind of sprinkle that in and say those are things that still need to be discussed. So at the moment, what we have paid to date is $882,000. That's including this month's billing with Vortex invoice. We actually had approved a quote of $2,400 and it came in at $1,860. So with the 1860 for Vortex, Monday 41 and change and Fall Design 3,900. We've come to a paid to date of $882,687. So that leaves us $755,000 remaining in the budget without
The
the fundraising money. So, okay, that's just where we're at this point. Questions on that?
That's the remaining cost.
That's the remaining budget that we have. And the anticipated cost, contract values, basically what it boils down to is when all is said and done with the current budget that we have, if everything goes as planned, no savings, no extra cost, just what we're planning, we have $61,000 for phase two.
And
Which
then
is,
about 60 in fundraising that I've done so far. So we've got about 120.
mhm. And what would be nice to know, not taking away from any of the urgency of what we have to do now, but it's gonna be kind of nice to know. And kind of know in order to have what we're looking for that would give us our certificate of occupancy. And not maybe the final, but the usable product so that the doors can be opened, so we can do our voting and, the fire department can use all of that. What would the ultimate cost be of that minimalistic view of getting the doors open? That's gonna be helpful for targeting for, what Steve can help us with for grants and such. All of
So
Chris's work.
for certificate of occupancy, at a very base level, we
Mhm.
have to get approved with the fire marshal and the code enforcement officer, so they don't care about all the other
Finishes,
stuff,
right.
exactly, so, brass tacks, at the end of the day, we could do that with, putting up partitions, making sure we have our operable doors and fixtures, and then smoke alarms,
Emergency lighting.
emergency lighting and stuff like that. So
I,
that is,
that is,
And I think
I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think that's key.
the bonus here is Caprera
This is awesome.
Equipment has offered to donate all the equipment, either new or used. And we're going to name it the Frost Family Kitchen. Because Carl Caprera is married to Jody Frost, whose family's been around forever. And so we will have the equipment for the kitchen. We just want to make sure we have the flooring and to put it on top of. So, you know, we will, that's probably, you know, when I just did a quick add of the amounts that Paul had put in, just kind of, this is the kind of stuff we're looking at. In the document he sent me, it's probably about $10,000. It may end up being more, and Carl wanted to know, you know, when we need it. I'm like, it's not a rush, Carl. We don't need it right away.
Exactly.
And we don't have the specific dimensions of the, you know, hand sink and the
Yeah.
3 or piece, you know, dish sink or the dishwasher or the refrigerators. We don't have those exact dimensions, and that's,
Right.
you know, a work in progress too,
So
so.
there's no range.
No.
the thing that maybe with a 3-bay, we did a project in Yarmouth where it was just basically a warming kitchen. But because we had a 3-bay, they made us install a grease trap.
Yeah,
So-
and that's been the talk from our other person on the board, Paul Root, because he's part of the sewer district.
Mhm.
So, and he's like, well, you might
Grease
want a
trap.
he wants a grease trap to prevent it from, you know,
They clog up.
messing up the
Yeah.
works further down the line, so.
It's definitely a necessity if that's the route to go, but it
Yeah.
does
They're
create
frying
additional
donuts and
cost and stuff.
Yeah.
Although with the basement being unoccupied, there are units that can just sit in an unoccupied space. I mean, usually they're buried.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a pretty open space downstairs
Yeah.
unless we really
Yeah.
had plans for maybe using it for storage, but
Exactly.
if it is going to offer the opportunity for us to,
Don't have to excavate. and
Right.
Yeah,
bury it.
then
Exactly.
gives money better
Yeah.
spent, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Because storage ends up, especially downstairs, it's not like it's gonna be for the historical society and whatnot. And you know how when things get stored, there they are.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Easy to maintain it or, work on it if you
Yeah.
had to work on it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
So just food for thought on
Yeah.
that. Okay. Does anybody have any, with you guys and your drawing and your work so far, what are your for thoughts and things that we haven't touched upon at the moment?
Well, I know there's been a bit of conversation about how these stairs are built, whether it's wood or steel, and obviously that may not be in that minimum budget, right? But I think steel would last basically forever, whereas the wood would create some maintenance issues. However, it's probably twice as expensive.
Mhm.
Getting certificate of occupancy, the things that I could see being key is making sure that we have accessible exits.
Mhm.
So we wouldn't need this stair as long as it's not designated an exit. I believe in our life safety.
so that's not a required exit.
Well,
Well, we have one here and one
Andrew
here.
was saying that one's not presently. Because there's no
because it's not
handicap.
accessible
Oh, yeah.
to have
Yeah, I
a
gotcha.
handicap.
got
accessible.
you, right,
So
understand.
that, this one is the same situation.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember, I know we had this conversation and I may have written it here. No, I have, based on the size of the space and the occupancy, it could have been a single exit, but I don't think that's true because we're at 258. So we may do a temp ramp out front, could be a fairly cheap thing to get 2 accessible exits. And that way you don't have to build this stair and we don't
So 1,
designate
2,
that an
3,
exit.
4, 5, 5 and 7. A long ramp.
5 feet.
Well,
But we're
I
also
guess-
grading up to this, I mean,
Mhm.
because we sink down when
Right,
we come
yeah.
in from the driveway, right? So
Right.
if we grade in to the building,
right,
it could be a shorter ramp. Just something to, I mean, definitely less expensive than building that back stair.
right. Which ultimately obviously needs to be done.
Mhm.
But to use it initially, what I'd hate to do is, especially if we can get extra money, you know, I'd hate to invest, you know, money in wood
Right.
that
Also,
is gonna have to be maintained,
yeah,
all of those.
also, it's not, the way you'd have to assemble it is not a typical, like a deck. It would have to have the, you know, tripping,
Right.
projected
Yep.
threads and
Yeah, yeah. So either way, in my opinion, you know, making the investment in metal is the way to go.
I agree.
But, and just, you know, coming up with cost. That would be interesting to see what the price is there, so we know how to target. Just a ballpark would be helpful.
That's a quick question. How does that affect the preservation? If you not using wood in a building that originally had.
It's not on the historic register. so-
right. I mean, you guys, you can do whatever you want, but from my
Yeah,
perspective,
well,
Right.
his focus is a lot on the aesthetic, on the bell,
yeah.
the, you know, the masonry.
Well, I'll try to slip in my
Yeah,
preservation agenda.
Yeah, and that's okay. But for the functionality
Yeah.
of, you know, this, you know, is such an important thing. This area is exterior wise important, obviously,
Mhm.
but it needs to be functional. And
Right, and preservation doesn't have to be precious, you know,
Mhm.
there's preservationists have what category that's called rehabilitation, which is just a balance act between preservation and modern
And
needs
functionality,
and
right.
making your modern environments happen. But I would just prefer to see the steel stair.
Yeah.
My only recommendation is I wouldn't build it, the stairs right up to the building, I'd leave a gap,
Yeah, absolutely.
maybe
Yeah.
even a foot.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Save standing on the brick and whatnot over the years.
And also steel, you can shovel it and abuse it and,
Yeah.
You could even do just a braided tread.
yeah,
Mhm.
Snow.
Yeah.
stone goes right through.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just another question coming up, or I guess a couple questions coming up in how we would like to meet that very basic need of occupancy. So when we had designated sort of a gallery space for the portraits and stuff, that wouldn't be considered essential for this. That would be,
Not for this phase.
okay, so if
Makes
we
sense, yeah.
edited these drawings to basically include all the bathroom enclosures.
Mhm.
Since you're getting kitchen equipment donated, we probably want to enclose that as well.
Agreed,
Place for
yeah.
that.
Mhm.
What about millwork and stuff? We were doing details and measuring trim and millwork. That's,
In that
kind
primary
of-
room,
yeah,
I defer. I have my opinions, but I tend to talk a lot. So,
I don't care.
I mean, I think that room's important.
And I think that room's important if we.
so the millwork as it stands isn't really that complicated.
No, it's very
Like
simple.
flat
But I think-
top, quarter
yeah,
round
you're
and
just trying
flat
to
top,
make it-
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, I think it's important for folks to, townspeople, I know the people that want this badly.
Yeah.
Are, you know, are pleased with this, but there are some who have questioned. And if they walk into the room, you go, oh, no kidding, you know, yes, we haven't got this stuff done over here, but
I think it's important that when we get to the point that we can open the door.
Yeah.
That they can walk in and go,
no
wow,
kidding,
okay,
no kidding, right?
you know,
Yeah.
as opposed to walking in and saying, uh-huh.
Well, this is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's what we want to avoid,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, yeah, you should capitalize on, especially if there's not an exorbitant cost, capitalize on what it was.
Mhm.
It's a special building.
Mhm. And I think
Replicate
the
as
hat
much
tips
as
to
you
those
can.
are gonna be important.
Yep, okay.
And I like the idea of if we can do something and not have to have the front. Not have a 35-foot ramp and whatnot, it's, I don't know. But if we have to, we have to. I tend to shy away from temporary facilities and
Yeah.
things because it's money spent that we'll
You're gonna have to spend again.
have to spend again, so.
I also think it's important that it's like a book. You see a book and the cover is absolutely gorgeous, which I'm hoping this is what's gonna happen. But you want to open that book and you want to find just as much beauty.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
I know that because of the budget and the cost since COVID has just been destroyed of everything. I still think it's important that we do as much as we possibly can.
yeah, we don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish.
Right.
Right.
Especially in that.
People are attracted, I mean, it's a functional facility after everything's done, but they should capitalize on the specialness of.
Yeah,
all of the
and,
building.
but also I think, it's important that it not be so ornate that they're like, why did you spend the money on
Right,
that?
right. I mean, it's not like we're doing gold leaf or
But
anything.
I don't think it ever was.
It
No.
never was. It was
Right.
just,
It was a functional room.
yes,
Yeah.
it was just a
And-
open room with desks and
Yeah.
a day.
But it had a, a minimal amount
Yeah,
of.
right,
trim.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's, I think that's what we want to be focused on, so.
Right.
All right, so as far as a certificate of occupancy, do we have to have the bathroom facilities and?
emergency lighting.
Yeah.
Exit signs,
Mhm.
carbon monoxide and smoke
What's
detectors.
that fire repression system? Is that? Dry or is that
For a
wet?
single story, we won't need a suppression system.
Oh, you don't?
For assembly. If we went to 2 stories, so that's why we have the basement and the second floor unoccupied.
Mhm.
So for a single story, we have an up to a certain amount of occupancy we can have without suppression.
Yeah, it saved us a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the number of people who can be in there is limited too.
It has to be posted as well, right?
Yeah.
Occupancy limits.
Yes.
What's the most you're gonna have?
Because, what is it, two?
Well, the building from a code perspective can fit 258, I believe with single story and no suppression, it might be 100.
Yeah,
for
that was-
assembly.
Fine.
Yeah. For the room, for the assembly space.
Yeah.
So breakaway space and stuff, that's not inclusive of that.
But 100 people is a lot in that.
Oh,
space.
yeah.
Mm. Do you have the ability to make photocopies of blueprints?
Scanner in our office, but it's only 11 by 17.
Yeah.
I could,
So
I
everything
could
has
see.
that.
Okay. Because those original blueprints.
They're fragile, I bet.
Well, and so my choice is, I talked with Audrey, who, is the keeper of the things at the museum. And so whether or not we have you make 2 copies, because if you want to have a copy to work from, and then we were gonna have a copy to frame, and they're gonna keep the originals. If Audrey's okay with that, other than that, I would take them out to Copies, et cetera, and
That might,
Manchester.
that might be the safest thing. My scanner has a cylinder roller
okay.
and it
Yeah.
can attack
Okay.
old fragile drawings.
Okay,
Yeah, you
So
are.
if they, if they can scan it flat,
yeah.
I would do that.
Okay, so and that's what we'll do. I'll make a plan with Audrey to do that, and I don't want the museum to pay the money to do, but I'll figure it out with Audrey that I cover the cost of getting those copies made. So we'll have those original blueprints, because it's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, and it's
not
to
only
scale. I was gonna say you
Yeah.
could just take a photograph and share
Yeah,
it,
so-
but to scale would be
And the
useful.
detail is just so unbelievable, because it has even the ledge drawn in under that.
Wow. Yeah.
That's cool.
You know those Lewiston architects? He was a Lewiston architect that drew these.
Just like fall.
That's why I laughed about that when I saw the name of it. It was just something else. Audrey and I had fun at those, so. So I'll make a plan with Audrey for that.
So, or anything else what you're thinking into?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
It could be, I mean, if we do a temp ramp off the front, I know that's not the ideal option, but Acre Snow Day may is a good faith thing, like lease or lend a ramp that they have. It was like in Yarmouth project that I'm referencing, we had a temp ramp into the building and the CM company had let
Had
it stay
let
there
him-
for
and let it
6
stay.
months or something
Okay,
like that.
all
So
right.
it was,
Mhm.
you know, they wanted to help the client out and
Okay,
it's kind of. good
so that's
faith
a
thing. It may
conversation
not
that we
be
can have with them and see if it's
just
something that's
possible,
doable, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So Andrew, we're thinking on this side?
Well,
I'm just thinking you have to.
we'd have to work it out because you
You have to
obviously
get to a
can't get
public
through
way.
there. Yeah, so maybe it's a platform
Straight
or
out.
something. I mean, we could work it out, but as a cheaper option, it wouldn't be pretty. That
And then it goes
the
downhill.
thing. From here, it will, I believe it goes up into the drive area, that
Okay.
we slope up to the road, right?
Yeah, I came in this way and it looked like it was fairly flat.
Yeah, the surveys we can look at. Just something to think about.
Yeah, it's gonna be interface.
Well, then the other options, if we can get pricing on what we would have requirements.
Who do you use for like steel and stairs like that? Just some ideas that I can,
Well, the company that we used to use for fabricating stringers, went out of business last November or so. Nobody right now, I guess, because we haven't had the need since then.
Yeah. And I can't,
Well,
Thank-
that's something we can reach out to Next Snow Day and check on a
use for
few,
steel, yeah.
others that.
Yeah.
You know, the GCs that I work with that may be able to give us an idea of who they reach out to.
There was somebody, when that company went out of business, the builder of that project had a contact that then came in and finished the work. That was in Hallwell, so relatively local.
Yeah.
I can see, his name's Christian, I can try and get his
Okay.
contact information.
That would be good, so. we can-
Bath Iron Works do anything like that? Do they make shift steps and,
I would say we would only fabricate the stringers because we could get,
any of those are, no. I haven't heard of any of them.
we could get like McMaster or something and do just a standard spec tread and riser that we would just order like a great tread and that way it doesn't accumulate snow or anything. So I would just fabricate the stringers, then they would be attached to the field.
I don't know if they're good.
Maybe for what we're trying to do, it maybe we have to go that route. Yeah, I hate to say if there might be something that could be on loan, but then that puts a time crunch on us too, because you don't want to tie up somebody's equipment.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, anything else?
No, I think that'll do it. So I got a couple of things I gotta check off.
I have a couple of questions for you from conversations Steve and I had about one of the options that we're kind of looking at. So there's federal money. Is it federal money or state money?
Yeah, it's federal money, it's state, but it has to be federally
Yeah.
approved.
That to do an outdoor area and recreation and that type of thing, there's some matching monies and things out there available. So we'll get into this a little more when we talk with Steve, but one of the things that he would need to, if we decide to pursue this, I didn't know what you had for exterior and the landscaping and that type of plans that you had drawn already. Had you done any of that? I don't remember.
Besides regrading, no,
Okay.
no.
what about the patio, that concrete
Yeah.
slab we have there?
That
That's what
plus, but
steps need to
it's
be-
That's a
kind of
natural
about-
place to
yeah.
put it. The presence of the historic building is that it's a brick block with a
Mhm.
pediment on a lawn.
Yeah.
Right. Mhm.
and whether or not this space out here, you know, was utilized for recreation or other opportunities for the town to.
I think you could
to
make
populace
that
for
recreation area very visible, but somewhat removed from
Yes,
the historic
yeah.
building.
because, since we,
But your parking,
this whole-
your drive and parking is here and
Yes.
yeah, was back here
yeah,
somewhere.
exactly. And even the front space, this big front lawn,
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a conversation, if we decide to go that route, there might be, an opportunity, but we have to have something to send in with the grant application. This is our plan. Will you give us money, please? So I guess that's the only thing there. We
So we
can,
have the civil plan that just shows regrading. There's no
Okay.
landscaping
Yeah.
or
Right.
any.
I didn't think we had done anything extensive on that.
Yeah.
Cause that's kind of like, we need to get there. first.
Well, I wonder, I don't want to speak for you and Paul, but I wonder if a landscape architect would make sense.
We have one that we really like to use that works with us really well in Bar Harbor, and we could ask him, even if it's just an initial sketch type thing.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
just, just a vision.
And Chris, we need to get that statue
Oh, yeah.
reestablished too.
That statue needs to go back somewhere too, yeah. So,
The must-
I think from my perspective in looking at funding, if, especially from conservation people for recreational areas, is to tie this whole area together. And I know I'm talking, I never think of the fields, yeah, as part of that, but it ties it all together.
yes,
It does.
So there's a lot you could do with that.
Yeah.
And there's funding out there every year for those kinds of
Yeah,
projects.
just linking this property. to-
Yeah, linking it
Fields.
to everything.
That's a big deal.
yeah,
Yeah, I can reach out to Mike. He's with Lark Landscape Architects. And we're working with him on a number of projects. Love working with him, and he's
Okay.
quick, really good at what he does, and good guy to work with. So you can just ask him about what he would think about.
Justin wasn't sure, your town manager, that you would need another committee to look at something like that, or this committee wanted to take that on.
He could, if we do it real simple, he could run it through us, then we could present it to you.
Yeah, I think
I mean,
that's
think
key, is
that-
keep it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think keeping it simple and it's the vision for what this is going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
And if it does tie in, great. But I think if it runs through here would be for continuity and for ease of things like that.
Because you've already done quite a bit of work, thought process behind it. so-
We're trying to make sure that it says functional and usable.
yeah, yeah,
We want it to have as many opportunity, many faceted
Yeah.
applications, from.
now would this exterior thing need any sort of water fountains, outhouse, anything? that comes with this?
no. It would just be, as some sort of recreational space, whether it's an area to walk, walking paths, or, there's a playground out here already that we can't move, but we'd be able to probably,
Tie it in.
beautify that and get it kept
What about lighting?
rejuvenated.
A little bit.
If you had a little bit of lighting beyond the parking lighting, I don't think we
This
ever
would
discussed
be kind
that.
of the lighting.
Yeah.
Right, and like you say, if there's
People-
maybe walking paths in a couple little gardens,
Yeah.
seating areas and whatnot.
Yeah,
Where like also if somebody's having a wedding there, you can
That's
walk
true.
to another area. Have some taken at the front, but also, I think it's, and then you've got the kids that have come to the wedding and they can.
go
over
play
and-
on
and
the
get
the
all
front
muddy.
lawn, so.
That's key.
Yeah, lovely.
What did you do?
Yeah. So that's kind of the thought, minimal, but pretty and functional.
Yeah.
No? Don, you have anything?
I think so.
Okay,
Thank you.
good.
So you're gonna call Steve and that's all.
Yeah.
He's the only one we need to coordinate with.
Yeah,
Okay.
Steve and
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I don't need it.
Thank you.
He has some outside equipment they recommend, you know, like.
Nice to see you on a sunny day.
So that could even be.
I got
right
with
to the
your-
playground.
I was at the lake where we have a place on the lake and I'm like, let's go to a meeting and the sun's out. Yeah.
Tonight.
Well, it's mainly just of that, but I put a few pictures of the blueprints in there. So,
Thanks.
yeah.
John, and he did say, Jeremy did say with the mixture, it was it hold water quite a bit longer.
Yeah.
than say your
Right,
typical
'cause of the
type
line.
Right, so if you happen to see it over there and it looks dark, that's
That's the reason.
obviously
Okay.
because of.
It's saturated, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Carefully.
Thank you.
It's gonna pass around spit time. I'm feeling bad.
There's some crap.
I want that. Oh,
And orthodontia.
Huh?
Orthodontia.
My
lips don't wanna go over my-
Exactly. And when you try to talk, it's like you never went.
Oh, no.
All right. Now, what we can do, since Paul's not here to sign the what we can do is vote on them, and I'll just forward them to Paul for his, to review them, because he does like to keep track of everything, so.
You don't like me shooting them?
All right. So what we have here is 3 invoices. Snow Days is they're requesting for the month of May. This is a May invoice.
Okay.
Okay, and that's Paul's is the June.
Oh,
But next Snow Day is May, just the way the
Okay.
requisition cycle
Yeah.
works. And so they're looking for 41,162. And again, if we flip to page 3 of the attachment. In this period column, he will tell us where they're billing. We've got the change order 1. Which was that first $40,000. $99. The general conditions, the work that they're doing, managing the project, $4,400. Demolition, I think we've seen, this is back in May. We saw a lot of that. And so 32,000. Rough carpentry, fee. 2266. Which is what comes up to the grand total of 41,162. I think we've seen.
Yeah.
Good progress
Yeah.
in all of that, like the chimney came down and. You know, and they were very careful and they saved as many of the brick as possible and. So the mason feels pretty comfortable with that, he'll have some good material to work with. So do we want to vote on all 3 of them at once or one at a time?
All 3 at
All
once.
3 at once, okay. All right,
Sounds good.
then, yeah, and then Paul's, as I say, is the June invoicing. $1,000 for principal architect. The designer, 765, and then John, 500. And then the structural engineer, probably looking at the bell tower and the damage that they found up there, so 1635, you all feel pretty comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay. As I said with Vortex, when they came in and scoped the sewer
The
system,
system.
this is the sewer system, they actually brought it in under their original quote, which is $2,400. To build it in 1860, so that's very helpful. I just, unfortunately, I don't know what the scope found. Paul received the report and he was gonna look at it over this weekend. So do you want me to have him send out a report to everybody? so
I'd like to
we
know what they found.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
Sorry,
I'm
kinda.
okay with the billing, but
Yeah.
I'd like to know.
Is that line discontinued use or?
There was a whole bunch going on.
well,
with the
what they were
sewer
trying to
system.
determine is if we have to dig a new line.
Right.
When by scoping, I think they went through a couple of the
holes in the basement.
manholes and the holes in the basement to see if they're functional.
Yeah.
To try to save them some money.
Yeah.
Be nice if Paul would make a comment, just good news, bad news.
Yeah, so I don't, but I, because of the weather and his processes have been backed up quite a bit, his projects. I don't think he's had a chance. So what I'll do is, I'll let him know that we're comfortable with the 1860. But we'd like to hear before we actually say write the check.
Right.
We'd like to hear what they found.
That's in that.
And we're okay with, and that he has the information he needs to advise us. But if he gives the thumbs up, I can let Justin know to put it on the warrant.
So should we move that we pay these two and the vortex is pending?
And we'll-
Conversation?
Yeah, we're okay.
Okay,
Once we have the information.
okay, all
And
right.
I'm okay with him sending that information to us via
Mhm.
email.
Yes, yep. So
Comfortable with that?
I move that we authorize payment of Nickerson and O'Day, 41,162.67.
Mhm.
And we pay Paul Designs $3,900. I would say we will pay Vortex on condition of information we receive prior to that being put on the warrant. Okay, is that all right?
We have a second,
I'll second that.
all in favor? Thank you. All right, select board updates, answers, recommendations. No, we've never got any feedback from.
No, there's never, I've not had any railing at us, have we, Doug? It's been on plenty of other things, but not this.
Not that.
So-
So we're off the radar.
Yeah, we're off the radar right now, so that's a good
It's been
thing.
a busy month for them, so yes, we're
Yeah.
off the radar.
Lie low.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so nothing there. And, so just to recap, for me, for fundraising, I got a no from, the Lieber Foundation.
Oh.
So we'll try again. And, I will be at the alumni gathering with the pros and a PowerPoint presentation to show everybody the progress and what's happening and fun stuff like the slate chalkboards with people's names carved into them. And,
Question, as far as all of the graffiti, the contractor graffiti on the walls, are we getting, we have pictures of
we have
that.
pictures
Are those something that we're thinking about including in this?
in
Funny
the display,
displays.
I think, yeah, and, the other thing in the Rankin reports, if you look at those pictures that he took when he had disassembled that bell tower in the 8x8 beams, there were initials carved into the beams of,
I didn't see that.
yeah, really just astounding from the 1850s or 60s when they built that bell tower. Because, when you uncovered it and saw the bones of it, it's, but that's what everybody does. They put their initials and things. So I didn't get an updated spreadsheet for Windows, but I think we're at least, so Jimmy Chick bought one,
Penny.
Penny
And I'm having one.
and my mother.
Yeah, your mother.
And
I have one and
Doug.
Doug is having one.
so I think we're at 5,
And how many are in there?
8.
8? Okay, so we need to sell 3 more?
Yeah,
Okay.
and but I'll double check
The
that
big- the large-
information
of
of
the
the
big
big ones. And I sent a note to Robbie Moody through Ed Spencer. Just to query Robbie
Ron, yeah.
about, if he was interested for Mr. Moody, but we'll see, you know, how that goes. So,
Sorry, not my favorite principal. He came after I left.
but seeing,
I know.
so he's,
Behind the scenes.
so from, but he was my principal and I always got along with him, so, but we were pretty good kids. So we were all right, you know, we were,
Yeah,
we were.
Under the bus.
I wasn't in the principal's office, and the only thing you had to worry about is that if Mrs. Poole called you to the office, then you knew you were really in trouble if she wanted you. So I'll be at the alumni gathering with that, and what I've been doing is just uploading pictures from the Rankin reports to show the progress. And going, you know, in some of the pictures that we took when we were in there for walkthroughs and all of that. So those are kind of a neat little thing that I've got that'll just, you know, play.
Chris,
And-
you want to try to sell that $1,000 window to the alumni, see if they would buy it?
Well, you know, that's an option, and to see the other $1,000 window, or, you know, I'll
No, I
put
bought
together,
one.
you bought
Yeah.
one, so there's two of those,
Yeah.
and
So there
I,
are three $2,000 ones and one $1,000 one.
and then
Okay. And then
four $1,500 ones,
Okay.
right? Isn't there four? One, two, no, there's more than that. There's 4, 5, 6, right? Because each. That's, yeah, so 4, 5, 6. There's
Six
six
of
$1,500 ones. Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah. So those are available as well. So I'll do like a little laminated thing to say that the windows, and I'll have these, I'll keep these plans because they're kind of updated there that people can flip through. So, but the wonderful thing is that Steve reached out to me to volunteer to help with grant writing, and I felt like my prayers had been answered. I was feeling a little overwhelmed, especially since I had gotten no's, thinking I was just not pulling it off. So, but everybody knows Steve, right?
Yes.
Except Dawn.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I've only been in town 30 years.
she's a newbie.
So am I,
Just a baby.
Yeah.
33.
Oh, really?
Well, so we were nipping
Yeah.
at heels.
And that about Steve Brown's been about that same
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
as
we're about the same.
87, I
Yeah.
think. Isn't that when they
Yeah.
came, Dr. Bougie?
Yeah.
87?
Yep.
I was here in 87 as
So-
well, yeah.
So they've been here about the same time.
Yeah. So we just babies.
Yeah. And Lori really isn't from Monmouth.
57, we moved here in 57, 3 years I lived in Durham.
Oh, that's
Same
the
like-
problem.
Yeah, I know. And we won't talk about Doug being born out of state, you know, so. But, so the great thing is Steve's got some great ideas about, I'll let him explain that project to you and see if that's a direction we want to move in or explore with those, but, there's a few other grants that are on the radar, and we'll reapply for Stephen King, and we'll reapply for Libra. And I think just,
Sometimes it takes several.
Yeah.
Applications.
Yeah.
Eventually.
This is big.
Yeah,
Persistence
you
pays
become a
off.
pain, they say, okay.
Which
yeah,
just.
people, yeah. So,
One of the things that they, just from looking in from the outside at first, was you don't have a mission statement.
That's right.
I hear a lot of what you would like
Yeah.
to do.
yes,
Yeah.
And somehow you need to break that down into a mission statement. What are you trying to accomplish? And just from some of these applications that Kristen gave me, goes right along with that. But how long have you been planning this? Just the history behind it. You want to, when you send these applications out, you want to be able to tell a story. just the history of it briefly, not in a lot of depth. So they get to see what this project is all about. And then how are you going to use this building for the site? And the more things that I'm hearing you're encompassing makes it a much more viable, because you're hitting a lot of people, not just necessarily maybe Monmouth people, but
Oh, no, we want to.
you want to reach out to everybody.
Right.
We want it to be.
And you have the academic history here. It's one of the reasons we moved here. So that is a strong, very strong point of its its start into where you have come. So those are things that I'm looking for.
So as far as a mission statement goes, is that something that you're gonna help us with?
Yeah.
I can help you with that. Yeah.
I've never
I
written
babble.
one. Yeah.
I've never written one either, and I tend to not be succinct when I'm telling stories.
Yeah. So what types
That's my
of things
nature.
do you need from us, like bullets that you craft into a
I guess
paragraph?
how you vision this building and what it's gonna be in this community. It's the academy and it ties in with your educational aspects of it. But how does it tie in with the town in general? And what
And
are
the
the things that
surrounding
you
area.
would like to see happen with them?
A community center for gathering
A gathering.
and
Yeah,
meetings and voting.
yeah,
And because we've had to, ask permission to use our school to vote. And sometimes we don't receive that permission. So,
But also, as we were speaking to potentially warming station to work hand in hand with.
Yes.
yeah.
I'm
Helen
not
Melody.
supposed to, thank you, I'm not supposed to call it the green.
the grain.
Don't. I get
I
yelled
call
at.
it the grain.
No, it's the Helen Melody subject.
But to work hand in hand to give
Yeah.
the town that opportunity
Yeah.
should.
If you had personnel that worked in this building throughout the day, it becomes a community center
Yes.
for seniors.
Yeah.
Right.
And that goes a long way.
Mhm.
Seniors, towns are always looking for community centers.
And I think that when it gets so that we can occupy it, I mean, if the seniors, I don't know, is there a senior?
We're working on that
Citizen
grouping
grouping
right
that
now.
if
Who was the
they,
lady who came in? the other
That
day?
was Mary Beth Paquette.
Yeah, right.
Doing the.
Age-friendly.
Right,
age-friendly.
I mean, and if they
Yeah.
wanted to say, could we have every Wednesday
Yes.
afternoon?
Yes.
I mean,
And using that, Mary Beth is trying to
Yes.
accomplish is an added plus that you're an
Yes.
age-friendly community.
Yeah,
And
Yeah, the walkability with all the.
yeah, with all the
sidewalks that we've
sidewalks
done.
you have now,
yeah.
they're all handicap accessible, not like downtown.
We'll get there eventually. We'll get there. Yeah, yeah.
But I've seen, just from my experience, I was a town manager for 20-some odd years, still alive. But, a lot of
But you're only
places
26, right?
have come, libraries have become the community center.
Yes.
And you go, and our library isn't big enough to
Right.
accommodate that, but this could be part of
Right.
that. They come and they have coffee, they play cribbage, they read the
well, they have
paper.
the quilting group also that is there
Yeah, it's just
on
something,
Wednesday
you'd
mornings
be
or,
amazed when you start.
Could
right, right,
be for a Lions Kiwanis, any of
right,
that.
right.
But we also have, the schools right here. Should, if the high school gym is tied up for, with the basketball game and the drama class, can't get in over
Yeah.
to the, whatever,
Yeah,
there's
Yeah,
different things that they could
Yeah,
do.
well, also like what I was trying to get across was also when they do, like having the colleges come in and meet with
Yeah.
the juniors or the seniors, a college fair, so to speak, we would have this so that you wouldn't have to close off the cafeteria, you wouldn't have to close off the gymnasium, that come over here and this is, get your
Here it
pass,
is.
right, here it is.
okay. Well, I'll start putting some things in writing,
yeah.
and, you only meet once a month. I'll try to have something for you in August.
But we'll start including you in the emails. That's the other question we didn't ever finish with, is whether we were gonna bring him on as a consultant
Right.
or as a member
Yeah,
of the committee.
I kind
Just as
of,
a volunteer,
Yeah.
I don't need to be. I'll just volunteer.
That's us. We're all volunteers.
So,
But didn't the board appoint all these people? No.
We had to submit, yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah, I'll just throw my name in and I'll show up every meeting.
So what I can do is include you in, I just need an email
I'll send you
address.
his
Yeah.
email.
And then I can include you in our
Yeah, that'd be
email
good.
discussion so that you, and also with the daily reports of what's going on
Mhm.
with the pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
The more he knows, the better informed he is
Yeah,
to
what this.
answer any questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, to help with the mission statement, so.
The site superintendent submits a daily report, including photographs and what's going on today, and they forward that to us and we distribute it.
Thank you.
Yes, Steve.
My kids went through this system, so it's important.
Yeah, I was gonna be standing in the front door when if it got voted down and
Yeah.
block the wrecking ball. I really was. I was gonna be Miley Cyrus, but not naked.
I would love to see it. If you lose your building.
Well,
Right, exactly. You
It's a
can't get it back.
travesty, you know, it really is to just tear things down. I just, I, ah.
So I will send you an email with,
Okay.
and him an email.
Okay. All right, so.
What's your email, Steve? S. Dot Eldridge, all lowercase. LDRIDG. At
Yeah.
Roadrunner.
So I'll tell you, I was very happy. I was relieved because I was, well, no, I was feeling very disheartened because I had gotten no's. And like I had said to Justin, when we met with Justin last week, is that I'm a perfectionist, and when I get a denial or
Slap right across the
that, I
face,
feel
right?
like I've done something wrong. And
Yeah.
what did I do wrong? I should.
What did I
have done
miss?
better,
Yeah.
You know?
Like chasing money.
So.
She's raised 60,000.
I know a lot.
I do have one other thing, before we set time and meeting for the next agenda, time and.
Just, but
Thank you.
Yes.
whatever.
We had talked originally about maybe once a month meeting on site, but we're getting the daily updates. Do we feel comfortable with that, or should we be planning, you know, getting together on site?
I would like to come up and keep track of it just because it helps me think about where
But
we're
as-
going
yeah,
and
as
see
far
the
as taking
inside.
time out of Darren's
Yeah,
schedule and whatnot, where we're gonna, you know, all the committee members
Yeah.
clustering to wander around and have him try to. Do we feel that we need to do that with the daily reports or what?
The daily report for me is fine, because I mean, I can come up, you know, granted I'm on my inside, but for me, that's not, I don't want to take him away from what he's doing.
yeah.
And I think if we, you know, are there, that just takes
Right,
some hours out of his day.
And I think if the architect's there, maybe if I knew about that, plus I had asked Justin if he wanted to come up. And
Mhm.
I'd like Steve to see the
Right,
inside so he can kind of wrap his head around
Yeah.
that, so.
Oh, that kind of thing, you know, if they're gonna come up, we
Mhm.
should know, so if we
Yes,
wanna
right.
join in, we
Join
can.
in.
right, but I don't feel like we need to
But to
have a
have
meeting there.
special
No,
meetings
no,
exactly.
for us, I think it's a little overkill, especially since we're getting so much.
Getting,
information
bringing
from
them for us, yeah.
So when I send a note out, my next note, I'll just say, you know, whatever meetings are being scheduled with the architects
Yeah.
and the designers. Just make sure that we know, so in case our committee members that want to
Yeah.
participate, they can.
Yeah, and I'd like to get Justin up here,
And
because he's
Justin.
never been inside the building, I don't think, ever. So, you know, because he wasn't part of the initial
You know, he wasn't,
stuff,
yeah.
you know, other than seeing, was around when it was getting torn down and that whole mess, but
I know I'm looking back at this, and I'm like,
oh, yeah,
where they did these non-surgical
oh, yeah,
demo.
exactly.
Lori, do we have any artists in town who are very talented that could sketch out stuff?
Oh, Hanley.
Michelle Hanley,
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
She's very good.
yeah,
She volunteered. Yeah.
she might,
She might.
yeah, Michelle Hanley would be very
She
good.
lives right
Yeah.
down the street from you, she lives in that little,
Next,
In that little house.
yeah,
It's in back.
next from the Center Street
from, yeah,
apartments and
from
then,
the center school,
School.
and then the empty lot,
And then
and then that white little,
yeah,
yeah, the white little house with the porch.
I know the name, but
Yeah. The other thing that I had reached out to Hammond through Nick DeLong, who is the inside guy for Nickerson and O'Day. And I had sent him, a request for whether or not they do a donation, and I followed up with him the other day because I hadn't heard anything, and he said that they were taking into consideration that when they made the quotes on materials. So I'm hoping, but I have no way of
Knowing if we're really
if
getting.
we really are.
Right.
So that's what he said that they decided to do. So I guess I'd have to reach out to Steve Burton and say, are you seeing, is this, are we getting?
Yeah, because
a
what we
better
would like,
price or-
what we would like to be able to do is cite that and thank them.
Yes, exactly.
Right, and if it's hidden, we don't know.
Yeah, so I guess I'd have to ask Steve Burton if he is seeing,
Yeah.
anything
Hmm.
different there. And next week, I reached out to Lena Hahn and then John Simcoe. So they got back to me the other day because I followed up with them, and Justin and I are meeting with John Simcoe, who is in charge of government accounts for Androscoggin Bank, and they are who holds the note on the loan that we took out. So we're meeting with them, and I'll see where that takes us, whether or not they say we'll give you another $500,000 that no, for nothing.
now we have an empty building in town. It's just right for a small. bank.
Exactly.
Yes,
Oh, I know.
Right.
Sad
I
that
would
is.
love to have that. So anyway, we're meeting next Tuesday, and I'll see where that takes us. Okay. Because I ferreted out the right people to talk to at Androscoggin Bank. So, that's all I have there, but I was really excited about Carl Caprera. I thought that.
That's wonderful.
Very nice.
That is wonderful.
Wonderful thing, beautiful thing. I'm sure.
But see if you can get the alumni to donate
Oh, I know.
one window so they can put their name on it, you know.
Well, Lori
see.
knows some people in the Olympics.
I'll see what I can do.
What I would love to do, I know that we can as trustees, academy trustees, because our money goes to the kids and that, but I would just think that for all the years that the trustees were such a huge part of it, because if you look back at the history and what the trustees did do before there was a school board,
But
you
we
know.
should get the trustees to put some kind of like a bulletin board in there with the
Yeah.
list of all the funds that we manage and
Yeah, well, I'd like to.
scholarships that we manage.
On and aside from that, if David Walker comes to the alumni gathering, I'd like him to put a note out saying, keep the trustees in mind.
Yeah.
If you want to set up a scholarship fund,
Right.
because we need to keep keep building it. So, anyway, but that's all I had there. And let's look at
Yeah, for the next,
Dates.
for the dates, the select board meetings are the 9th and the 23rd. I think in order for us to meet the obligations of getting things on the warrant, Monday, the 14th
of August.
of August. And that would give me time to get things out and to Justin and Lori.
August 23rd.
August 14th
August 14th.
would be the meeting. The 23rd is when we have to have it.
Yeah, I have to have authorization to put on the warrant, established before Monday, the 21st. So, are we good with 6 o'clock on?
Yep.
14th, okay.
Maybe it'll be sunny.
Well, it's been sunny today.
Well, I know, but
15 Monday, okay.
Okay.
We have no public comment unless you would like to make a comment.
Thank you for all the work you've done.
No,
Well, thank you for
Thank
helping.
you for climbing on board.
Finishing up with Winthrop, so I said. Energy here.
Yeah, Steve. that's
No, we
really
appreciate it
wonderful. That's really
very,
good.
very much. And I know somebody in particular appreciates it very, 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 very much.
Steve, you can't believe how much work Chris has done.
It's done a
Oh, I know.
remarkable job.
Yeah.
Oh, and so exciting when the wins are so exciting, like Kennebec saving.
Yes,
Bag.
I get very excited when I get yeses, but I get very disheartened when I get nos. And I read in the paper that they gave money to somebody else.
And we go, oh, big lip. All right, so do you have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?